What is up, guys? I'm way too small. Let's make me big mode. big mungus mode. There we go. Now I'm translucent for some reason. Whatever. What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Okay, do I just need to like change my lighting or something? Good enough. What's up, everyone? As you can see, I'm no longer legal in Classic Constructed. I finally won a Pro Quest. Now, I don't get to play anymore, but I get to complain for the rest of the season that I don't get to play. Absolute victory. I either get to keep playing or I get to complain. Everybody wins. The 6 loop man. Okay, that is crazy. 6 loops. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? How's everyone's week in Flesh and Blood? You guys play any Pro Quests? Anyone do good at any Pro Quests? Get any fun promos or anything? Y'all finish your overcrowded play sets? Also, Martin, not only am I good enough to get banned, I'm also good enough that I've gotten cards banned before. I don't know if you know the extra lore, but I imagine a lot of people here don't. So I will still tell the story anyways. I actually am the reason that multiple cards got banned in the Commoner format. Oh god, it's like buried behind stuff. I don't want to grab it. The very first Commoner event in PT Jersey, I won that entire thing. And at the very end of the event, I stood up and went, who do I talk to about getting cards banned in this format? And then I ended up having like a text message chain with Joshua Scott for like an hour or something, where I explained why my deck was obscenely broken and got multiple cards banned out of it. I think it was like Stubbies and Ball Lightning? I can't remember anymore. It was 2 cards. It was either Ball Lightning, Stubbies, or Belittle. It was some combination of these cards. I can't remember anymore. Okay, why are y'all going crazy about 6 sloops? What is going on? Did I miss something? Who's 6 sloop gaming? I also had a rule changed in the game. Did you know that it used to be within the rules that you could spike your deck on the ground, and that was perfectly legal? It was in the original, or one of the original judge tests of, I think it was like the L1. I don't remember anymore. This is so long ago. But one of the questions was, is it like legal or allowed to spike your deck on the ground in anger after losing a game? And if it's not, what are the penalties? And it turns out that was perfectly allowed. So I told one of my judge friends that I will be doing that on stream next time I'm on camera. If this is allowed, I'm going to do this to make a mockery of the rule. Rule was changed in 24 hours. Like, what is that trick question doing on the test? Like, why is this a thing? Come on, what are we doing? Surely that should not be allowed. That's certainly bad sportsmanship. You went 3-3 as Marionette, just practicing Marionette for side events at Worlds. Man, you are all over the place on decks like this season. You cannot find a home, can you? Are the side events CC for the hero promos? I plan on doing some number of those. Because, like, you know, I'm not going to plan on being top 8 at Worlds. That's not, like, something I'm going to plan for. 5-1 on Gravy. Lost the quarters to the Mirror. No Shiny Lizard. Unlucky. Unlucky. We'll give it a few more minutes and then we'll start the deck profile. We'll do story time of my journey on Gravy Bones this ProQuest season. And then go over my deck choices and everything. But feel free to talk about what your week's been like in Flesh and Blood, and any questions you guys have in the meantime. I'm going to give it like 2-3 minutes, and then we'll get started. Can you show me your Marionette stuff next time? I don't think I've seen it before. Congrats, Ultimate. Did you get the gold foil? If so, what did you open it yet and get anything cool? Is that the Dan Flavin? Flavortown is in the chat? The side events are sealed? Well, that's kind of annoying. Bro, sealed? What a meme. I don't want to play sealed Super Slam. Oh my god. Looking to win the weekend armory with gravy. Gotta judge the local PQ. Oh, I luck-sacked. I was probably going to have to judge ProQuest this not this weekend, but the one after that. But Jimmy, who like it was going to be either one of us that has to judge based on who gets their invite. He also got his invite on the same weekend, so I don't have to judge because he lives closer. I didn't want to drive out there to judge. I would have, got to do the community service thing. Got to give back, but I don't want to do it. I'd rather stay home and practice and stream or something. That being said, I will be streaming probably that Saturday. You got second air quotes. What a meme of a system. I think I've watched Noah not win like 3 or 4 ProQuests now. Like, what a great system. Cody's doing the same thing. That's the other thing. I'm banned. Not only am I banned from playing Classic Constructed, I'm banned from the pod. They didn't even want me on the pod this week. I was like, surely they want me on after winning a ProQuest. Nope, be gone. Be gone, thought. How dare you not continue playing the season? And I had good story time and everything for the pod. We had the highs and the lows. I crashed out on Saturday. I won a game with a Fable in my arsenal on Sunday. That was going to be a good story time. Instead, you guys are going to get the story time. This is a victory for you guys, I guess. Oh, you want a ProQuest? Nice, Raph. Tide Flippers is nice, right? I guess it's like a mid one. That'd be nice if Drum Eye's playable in that format. But I have no real interest in that format right now. I'm going to yap about that for like 2 seconds before getting started also. I don't know if you guys follow me on Twitter or anything, but you guys probably saw some of my salty posts about Sage. Let me first preface by saying I would like these formats to succeed. It is incredibly good for the ecosystem of the game to have more formats that are successful in the game. One of the major problems that I've had with Flesh and Blood over the past like year or so is if let me rephrase this. In Magic, when a format is bad, it's fine because you just go play a different format. There's so many different ways to engage with the hobby. In Flesh and Blood, it really doesn't feel like there's multiple ways to engage with the game. It's really just go play Classic Constructed. And if that sucks, go hold that L. Like, there's nothing else to do. So having more ways to engage with the game is incredibly good for the ecosystem. We need that so that way you can have this rotating ecosystem of different things that you can play and engage with the hobby. And it also scratches different itches of different types of players and how they want to engage with the game because everyone kind of gets a different dopamine hit in different ways. So you need different ways for people to engage. It's really irritating to me, though, to see how much love and care they're giving to Silver Age. Because it's very clear they're putting a lot of work into it. And not to say that's a bad thing. It's not that they should just like leave the format high and dry. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But it's irritating from an optics level to see them put all of this attention into the format. Meanwhile, Living Legend is in the state that it's been for the past like year or so. And them to say this is going to be the format for Worlds, but we're just not going to realistically put that much time into the format. We're not going to have events. We're not going to internally figure out the format to balance the format. And normally I wouldn't say something like that because, I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But I think it's really obvious that they don't know what's going on in the format based off of the bans and everything. Like it. When they said this is happening for Worlds, no bans, we'll wait and see what happens with player data. It's pretty obvious they don't know what's going on in the format because it was not in a playable state before the most recent BNR. And it's still kind of like right now. It's like it's at least playable now, but it's a little dubious. Uh, it really feels shitty to see them putting that much attention into Silver Age for a format that wasn't even out yet when you're leaving Living Legend high and dry. It's like, could you at least have like given some attention to LL, waited for Worlds to happen, then announced the new format? I hate that. Or just don't do Living Legends for Worlds. Move your timeline slightly and have Silver Age at Worlds instead of Living Legend. I would have been okay with that, because I just want the format that is at Worlds to be something that they're actually putting their time and investment and balancing the format properly. I'm just a little irritated by that whole thing. Like, I don't know if you guys. I'll pull up this real quick. This is how I feel about the whole situation. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter. Change my scene. Where the fuck is it? Face cam and window. This is how I feel about the whole situation. Like, what are we doing? Like, it seems like they have difficulty with how many plates they're spinning. And I don't just mean format plates. I mean like everything. Like, you look at what happened with High Seas release, the product issues, card availability, pricing of playing the game, the new player experience. There's just like a lot of different plates they're trying to spin at the same time, and they're kind of doing a job on a lot of those plates. Why are we adding a plate? I'm like, what are we doing? Like, let's get the plates that we have in a spot that's good before adding new ones. And one thing, like, coming from Magic, watching this whole thing too, I see the argument from a lot of people that, like, this is going to be good for people getting into the game. Like, oh, this is going to be cheap. This is going to be a good way to get into the game, and like good for new players. And I got to push back against that a bit. For one, watching Magic, there's always these new formats pop, like kind of like around the time period of like before COVID. We had like a slew of formats just come up and then just get dropped by the player base for quite a while. And every time people were like, oh my God, bro, you gotta play this format. You gotta play it. It's Commander, but with standard cards. Wait. It's a new format. It's Commander, but you get a legendary spell as your commander. Wait. It's standard, but it's with more sets. It's Pioneer. It's like it was just this rotating series. At least Pioneer got some traction, but you just had this like this period in Magic where it was just like shit getting thrown at the wall of different formats. People would lose their mind and go nuts for this format, and then 6 months later, no one gave a fuck anymore. And I'm concerned that's what's going to happen here, because of, you look at the state that other formats are in Fab. If Silver Age ends up being like how some of the other formats are in Fab, no one's going to give a shit anymore. Like, people are going to go, well, this sucks too. I'm just not going to play this, and I'm going to go back to Classic Constructed. I'm concerned that's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying this is like a something that is definitely going to happen. But I have that concern, given the nature of how the other spinning plates have been going. It seems like biting off more than we can chew. But I kind of went on a side tangent there. I had a point about the new player experience. I obviously don't have the data on this. They know more than I ever would when it comes to this. But I've gotten a lot of people into Flesh and Blood over the years. I was literally the meme of, do you have a moment to hear about our Lord and Savior Flesh and Blood, for years. I went around to all of my card game friends, literally went to their houses and made them play this game. I'm not fucking kidding you. I literally did it. I was preaching. I was out there doing God's work. And I've taught so many people at the LGS. Whenever there's a new player, I was usually the guy that taught people how to play the game if they were interested. I would drop the game I was playing, just give my opponent the win. I don't give a shit, like at an armory or something. And I would teach the new person. I would come early for pre-releases for the new player event to teach people. I've done a lot of teaching people and stuck with them afterwards to make sure that they had a good experience playing the game, of like, not just, hey, here's how to play the game, and then leave them high and dry. Like, here's our community chats and everything. This is where you can play different days of the week in the area. Here's some guidance of where you can go next in the game. Here's different resources. Like, I would try to stay with them on their journey to stick with the game, because I want them to stick with the game. So I have seen a lot of people get into Flesh and Blood and seen their journey of learning the game. And, you know, this is going to be anecdotal because this is given my specific area and how people engage with the hobby in my area. So, you know, this is, I understand this is not going to be the broad experience everyone has. But a lot of new players that I see get into card games in general, not even just Fab, there's like two things that I see them want to do. One, it's the social aspect of they're going to want to go play whatever everyone else is playing. If everyone else is playing Silver Age, they're going to go, what's that over there? I want to play that. I don't care about Classic Constructed. Everyone's playing Silver Age. It doesn't matter. I'm going to play the game everyone else is playing. Well, what if we flip that? What if everyone's playing Classic Constructed and then you tell this person Silver Age is a great way to get in the game? But it doesn't matter because no one's playing the format. So you need it's like a chicken and egg thing. You need the format to be adopted and widely played consistently, not just, oh, it's the new thing, let's play it while it's fun and fresh. This needs to be a thing that's always being played at LGSs for this to actually be a good format for new players. The second thing is I frequently see that new players don't really want to play the low power scrappy format. I like scrappy formats. I really enjoy nickel and diming my opponent and finding cool interactions and brewing and everything and trying to like win with these shitty cards. I enjoy that. That's what I'm here for. But I don't think most people that get into like a new card game start there. That's like, I'm going to build towards that as I get more enfranchised in the game, is how I typically see it. They go, what's this cool flashy thing? I want to do that. I want to do the powerful thing. I want to do the thing that makes the happy brain chemicals and makes the monkey brain go burr. Ding, ding, ding. I want to do that. Oh, what's this cool Aurora deck that's able to fart out 30 damage turns? I want to do that. That's really fucking cool. And then we saw that actually work with the Aurora deck. They even said it themselves. They suffered from their own success with Aurora. It was so widely adopted that it rotated just from how popular the deck was. So like we know that's the case, that a lot of new players like to engage with the game in that way. So I have that pushback that this is going to be a good way for people to like get into the game, because they're going to go, A, is there even people in my area that are playing this format still 6 months from now? And B, this isn't like, this is scrappy, but I'm not doing the cool, fun thing. But that's not to say that Classic Constructed is that way for you to get in the game. I think Classic Constructed is also a shitty way for people to get into the game, because I've seen this again with a lot of new players. They get into Classic Constructed and they spend their first month just getting their ass beat, because this is a hard game. Fab is not easy to pick up. And when you're playing against other people that have been playing for a long time, assuming they're not intentionally losing so that way they feel like they have a chance, you just get smacked around, and it takes a long time for you to actually start picking up games, I find. That was one thing I did think was good about Blitz. It felt like anyone could win. When you sit down to play a game and you feel like you can never win, why are you going to keep playing? You got to be a real masochist to keep playing. I'm that masochist. I got my ass beat and I kept playing because I liked it. I saw it as a challenge and I pushed myself. But I don't think everyone's wired that way. Like, I'm not going to expect casual people to want to get in the game that way. And holy shit, I missed a lot of chat. I unzipped myself there. I had to get that off my chest. That was a bit of a rant. Let me catch up on chat real quick. Ooh, No other weapons for Prism. That sucks. Also, Prism sucks at 20 health. You just like don't have space to do shit. Do I have time to talk about my vision in draft? Sure, I can talk about that a little bit. So I'm a notorious hater on draft and fab, but it's not because I'm a hater on draft. I love draft. I have a cube. I have my own cube. Oh god, it's heavy. Oh fuck me. Oh, I shouldn't have grabbed this with one hand over stuff. Oh. I have misplayed on this day. Oh my god, that hurt. I almost dropped it and knocked everything over. I have my own cube. This is OG Triple Innistrad from Standard years ago. I love that format. It is such a good draft format, and I spent a bunch of time researching the pack data to try to reconstruct the pull rates of cards in the packs myself and make it as close to the original experience of cracking a box as I could. I love draft. I do not like draft in Flesh and Blood. I should probably make a separate video about this at some point. So I'm going to keep this brief because I have more thoughts on it and I haven't like sat down to articulate it for this ramble. But there's a couple big problems I have with draft and fab. The biggest one is how repetitive it is. A lot of drafts after you like kind of figure out the format, you've played like enough games that you figured out the format, it feels very on rails. You enact your draft strategy, you figure out the hero you're supposed to be in, and then every draft deck for that hero ends up looking like every other draft deck that you have for that hero. It feels very samey, and then a lot of the games will play out the same as well. It's very samey in the games as well. I think a lot of this really stems from the lack of draft archetypes in the game. You look at Magic and you sit down for a draft and you start taking black cards, and then you figure out, there's such a wide spectrum of black cards. I could be taking removal, I could be taking creatures, I could be taking graveyard interaction, I could be taking discard. Like within that color, there's a wide spectrum. And then how those things interact with your secondary color and sometimes even tertiary color. And it makes it so, let's just look at you draft black red 5 times in a row. You can sit down and have 5 very different black red decks in the same format. One of them is a mid-range just I'm playing dudes deck. The next one is like very heavy on removal. The next one you've got graveyard interaction and synergy. The next one you have a sacrifice engine going to create a value engine to grind your opponent out. Like you can have very different feeling decks where card priorities change vastly between your decks. And Fab doesn't really lend itself to the ability to do that because a lot of the cards are very samey. It's just like a bunch of stuff just kind of does very similar things. Are you deleting your own messages, or is the bot doing that? I just want to make sure that my bot's not going crazy. I don't think it's the bot doing it, but are you doing that on purpose, Justin? Anyways, now I will say this hasn't always been the case. I think MST and High Seas were great examples of them moving in the correct direction. When you look at High Seas, you had the sub game. It was very similar to the Monarch again in Magic. I know I keep referencing Magic, but it's almost like they got the formula down of how to make this shit good. So, like obviously I'm going to reference the success. The sub game of Treasure Island added such an incredibly high level of depth to the gameplay and made it so you could play literally the exact same 2 decks into each other 5 times in a row, and every game would play out differently because of how both of you decided to fight over the Treasure Island macro in the middle. it added a variety to games. It added depth and strategy. It was so good. That was the single best thing they've ever done in draft, and I hope they learn from that and put stuff like that in other sets. Having a sub game to fight over is so good. And then you look at MST, and there was a lot of draft archetypes between the heroes, different ways you could play them. It wasn't just every single Enigma deck looks like every other Enigma deck. Maybe I'm playing Protect the Queen Enigma. Maybe I'm playing just a Mystic Attack version of Enigma. Maybe I'm playing the version that just really focuses on getting shields into play with Chi or something like that. There's a lot of different ways you could build the heroes. And sometimes you even just built a mono Mystic deck. These different ways that you could draft change your priorities of cards significantly and made it so you're not fighting over the same cards as other people that are still in the same hero as you. And that's just not typically the case. I think that was the intent when they did the multi-heroes within the same like class talent sets, like heavy hitters where you got like 2/2/2 in the pies. And like theoretically, you know, Rhinar and KO should be fighting over different cards, but that wasn't necessarily how that played out. And then you had big power discrepancies between the heroes where it's like, yeah, Rhinar might have other cards that he wants, but I don't want to be in Rhinar because that deck sucks ass. Unless I'm like the one of one Rhinar and I get all the nut stuff, like I just don't want to be in this hero. It's too risky. I don't want to train wreck my draft. I can't do that. Yep, I agree. Those are the best two sets they've ever done. And I really want them to learn lessons from those and implement them to the future things because they got something right there. They can still do better, but there was something there. There's something there. Distill that, figure it out, put it in other sets. I had a really cool idea for this too for heavy hitters back in the day. When we first like got the concept of what heavy hitters was, I had my own just like idea of what I thought the set could be that I thought was like a cool idea. Okay, follow me, follow the cook. What if this so think about this. You go into an arena for a pit fight. And what do you usually see in these types of things? You see like a rack of weapons on the wall. And you grab a weapon and that's like your weapon of choice that you're going to fight to death over or with. So I was like, okay, how can we take that and make that something in draft? So what if instead of a class talent set, you made it a class weapon set, and you had weapons in the set that all heroes could play. The weapons were generic, but they had text on them that said, if you're this class, you get a proficiency in it, which is a D&D thing. There's weapon proficiencies if that's like something that you would normally use. So if I'm a guardian, I'm better at using a hammer than the other two are. But there's nothing saying a warrior can't pick up a hammer. And you do that with all the different weapons. So everyone can use all the weapons, but some people are better at using the weapons. But then the set is set up in such a way where it's weapon cards and class cards. So things that interact with a specific weapon. So maybe I start off in a draft by taking all of the axe cards. And I see that Guardian is open. And I'm like, well, I know Guardians aren't good at using axes, but I'm getting all of the bomb axe cards and Guardian is wide open. So I'll just play Axe Guardian and then the card quality of my deck is just going to be really high. Someone else with a Hammer Guardian deck might theoretically be better, but their card quality in their deck is lower because there's other people competing over the same cards with them. So I think that could have been an interesting way to go about it. It kind of reminds me of the element way they had it designed in Toa, but anywho, my problem with Fab Draft is I think Fab's best formats have only been about as good as mid Magic draft formats. I agree. Like I could literally have just sat down on some of the Magic formats that I really enjoyed for draft. I could literally just sit down and spam that draft format like 10 times a day until it was removed from Arena. I used to do that on Arena, just like spamming draft and going infinite all day. It was so fun. I don't have fun drafting in Fab. It's boring. I enjoy the discovery in draft and fab of figuring things out, and then it gets old very fast, and I get bored, and I don't want to do it again, but I have to because I'm going to the Pro Tour, and now it's a chore. I don't want to feel like it's a chore. It's a game. It shouldn't feel like a chore. I know there's plenty of other people that disagree with that, but I know it can be better. I've played Magic. I know draft can be better, so my expectation is here. And I see the design they do in Fab for other things, so I know it's not that they don't have smart people that can't figure this shit out and can't make a great game. We all know they can make a great game. Never said anything about the fact that they don't know how to make a great game. They are top notch when it comes to making great game. I'm sure I could have worded that more eloquently, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. Anywho. I mean, back in the day, it was way more weapon heavy, Martin. I mean, you look more and more at Magic with all the modal face lands. It's looking more and more like they are a bug. Because why would you play anything other than cards that could be lands and cards, right? What, have you heard parroted before? There's a difference between. I don't think people that complain about Mana Screw are consistently losing to Mana Screw. I think it's an issue of getting upset that some percentage of your games are non-games. Like, if, I don't know, 10% of all your games are non-games because of Mana Screw, that's kind of irritating. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's the people that come to play the Fab come because of the high agency. You completely lose agency when it comes to lands and Magic. I'm also a boomer for Magic. Brother, I've been playing since 7th edition. I'm a boomer too, but we can call a spade that lands are annoying. There's strategical depth to all of these things, but, I mean, I'm not saying lands is the reason I stopped playing Magic. I stopped playing Magic because of fucking this shit. Y'all excited for your pizza lands? This is the shit that made me quit. Yeah, it is the best resource system of any TCG for sure. It is a great game. They have designed the best TCG in the world. There's no doubt. All the things I take issue with comes down to decision making of different spinning plates, not the game itself. Great game. Anywho, I think that was quite the long ramble. I think I stalled for long enough for people to come in. I was supposed to be a 3-minute stall, and it turned into, I think, a 38-minute stall. So, oops. Let's get into the deck list. I'm going to pull up my show notes real quick so I have my talking points. Okay, so, number 1. If you want the deck list, it's in the description. It's right there in the description. Just go click on it. I know, right? Stall Master. I'm so good at it. If you want the deck list, it's in the description. Hold. If you want the deck list with sideboard notes because you want to be good at the game, you want to be nice, you want to call your opponent a clown when you got the right sideboard and you poop all over them, that's also in the description. But it's on the Patreon. It's just $5 though. It's only $5. You don't got $5? You don't got 5 bones? Think of how much money you would get by going to your ProQuest and just top 8ing it and getting promos. That's definitely worth $5. Come on. Easy peasy. That's easy money. It's free real estate. The keys are right there. You just got to go get them. It's free, except for it's literally not free. It's like kind of the opposite of free. It's $5. Anyways. Number 2. If you want a more thorough explanation than anything that I'm going to go through right now about any of the card choices in the deck, of anything that I don't cover, that is going to be in a previous video. Let me pull it up right now just so you can see what I am talking about. The last deck tech that we did on stream, it was the first Gravy Bones deck tech that we've done. So I did a more in-depth thing talking about all the different card choices that we made in the deck. It is this one right here, Gravy Bones deck tech, AGE first place. I'm going to throw it into the chat right now. So if you want me to like explain more the basics of the deck, go check out that video first. Everything that we're going to be going over today is assuming you've already watched that, okay? True, no Betsy match. True, knowers no. I'm sure y'all can figure out how to beat Betsy. I have faith. Actually, I need to add a Pallades one because I think I just do my my Victor one, but then switch my boots out. But whatever. I mean, I was planning on maybe getting this stuff on Metafy also, but $20 for a sideboard guide is ridiculous. That's highway robbery. My Gravy Bones full guide, though, which I'm on the very last section of it and proofreading it, that's probably going to be a bit more because I put a lot of work into that shit. That's not just, here's a deck profile, figure it out, bozo. The guide I've put a lot of work into. Anywho's. So, let's go over the changes that we made to the deck since last time. Number one, we've added a base of the mountain to the deck. This was not in my deck before because I didn't really see any reason for it, but then some things changed in the meta. I started losing some games to KO internally to Noah. And I was like, oh, okay, we got to fix this problem. Base of the Mountain is mostly for that matchup. The idea is that you play this card at a minimum when you go second. I haven't decided whether I should be playing this 100% of the time, but at a minimum, you play this when you go second. Basically, your favorite going first a lot of the time because you put an ally in play and you're just ahead of them. But when you go second, you end up taking a shitload of damage a lot of the time. What the base does is it says, hey, if you want to hit me, I'm going to put some allies in my graveyard because you can block with the base of the mountain with allies, and the allies will go to the grave afterwards. But the way it works is they don't actually trigger Watery Grave when they're blocking with this because they don't have text while blocking. They just go to the grave. So this is functionally like having a royal hat still, but it's in your feet slot instead of your head slot. So you still get to play Balance of Justice in the matchup. Tried to analyze a single card. Took me an hour to write it. I don't know what that means. So Base of the Mountain's been pretty good. I'm currently also experimenting with this in some other matchups at the moment, but I'm not giving you guys like a definitive, you should be playing it in all these matchups yet. It's just, against a lot of aggro decks, I'm currently experimenting with it, going second against them, because it was like, hey, if this is good against KO, what else is this good against when I go second? And I've had some varied success with it. Like, I tried it against Kasai. It was pretty reasonable. The thing that sucks with it sometimes is you'll go second with this, and then you won't draw an ally and you look like an idiot, and now you have worse boots in play than quick dodge a lot of the times. But it's still fine. And there's other spots where it's like, a lot of the times against these decks, you're just using the quick dodge, so that way you can dead threads quick dodge and just like gain 2 health. But if you base the mountain and block with 2 cards you're going to block with anyways, then the base is still worth 2 and it's about the same thing. Question, if you banish cards with defense values with base, once those cards are on the chain, they add their defense values as well. Yeah. Yes. So, like, I can block with Base of the Mountain, banish a Chum, and then banish a ley line. We probably don't want to block with ley line, but whatever. It's the first card that I saw on the screen. Both of these cards will get added to the chain. Chum has no defense value, so it blocks for 0. Ley line is blocking for 3. And then the Base of the Mountain sees that 2 cards were added, so the base is blocking for 2. So you end up blocking for 5 and putting the Chum in your graveyard. Pretty good. But like I said, I could just, if there's a spot later on in the game that I just would have blocked with 2 cards anyways, like, oh, I'm going to block with Prismatic and Chart. Well, I might as well just get my boots in there and block for 8. That only matters, though, if they're actually coming in for enough damage that you can block for 8. Decks don't always do that, like, go that tall. But it's something to keep in mind that you can still do that later on in the game. How often does it affect their decision with pulping? I mean, basically, if the base is on in play and they have a pulping, they just can't go face with the pulping as their first chain link. They just can't do it. They either have to send the pulping at an ally, or they have to go later on in the chain with a pulping, or do a pulping on a small hand where it's like, if you base my pulping, it's fine. I'm just going to arsenal pass, and it's not a failure state. Um, it's really not that big of a deal for them, but it might mean that they choose to not play a pulping line when they normally would have. So you're like denying there's implied value of it sitting on the board of making them take a worse line. You're not ganking them on it. They just choose to not make that line, but that line is actually better than what they are going to do instead. So you like incidentally pick up some value on just making them make a worse play. Moving on. I cut Eye from the deck. Eye's been okay. I really only like it in the slow matchups, and I find that it's just like not that necessary. It's good, but I wanted some other cards in the deck in that slot, so I just wanted to free it up to have some more just like specific tech cards or consistency cards that were better than Eye. And I really want to reduce the amount of do nothing cards in the deck that like when I draw this card doesn't actually do anything. I was running into a number of failure states over the past couple weeks where I would just draw up and have to pass turn because I can't take a game action. I lost to a Kasai that I was like 15 points ahead against on Saturday, where he just blocked 2 cards, hit my guy, passed, and I drew up. I'm going to play Avast Yi. I'm going to play Loot the Hold. I'm going to play Prismatic Leyline. I'm going to pass turn and draw 3 cards. Draw back up. I still can't take a game action. Fuck me. I crashed out after that pretty hard because that was like, I think the 6th time that's happened to me this ProQuest season of just like literally can't take a game action, and the game, I never was in a spot in the game where I could have sandbagged gold or allies based on how my draw came to me to prevent that failure state. Normally, you're trying to get yourself in a position after the early game where you've got some sandbagged allies and gold. So if you draw a hand like that, you can bail yourself out. And the game did not go in a direction where I could have done that. So I was like, what am I supposed to do? The only thing I had control over in this scenario was my deck building choices, because I don't think I could have played it in a different way. So we made some changes to the deck to try to alleviate that in the future. So that's kind of like why I have the Restless Bones in the deck. I know in my previous lists I had the blue Restless Bones. I've been playing without any Restless Bones basically since that AGE. And I put the blue ones back in because, again, kind of crashing out of just drawing these like do nothing hands. I just need some cards that can help me convert when I can't normally convert. I want to have less baubles in my deck, essentially. So the Restless was pretty good for that, just like having another card that is just an engine piece. I kind of want like ideally like 17 engine pieces, so that way I can draw about 1 every hand. But there just literally isn't enough to put in the deck without adding just shitty cards. Because like what I would consider an engine piece, we got like Tipple, we've got Call to the Grave as like a kind of a ghetto engine piece. We got Jittery Bones, still kind of ghetto. Portside Exchange, Restless Bones, still pretty ghetto. Chart, sometimes you can't rely on it. You're just gambling when you do that if you don't see a thing on top. Lone Shark, kinda. And Blood in the Water. But you're not playing Blood in the Water in every matchup. So like against the slower decks, you're losing this engine piece and then replacing it with something else. So I just wanted to up my count of cards like that let me play the game. And have more functioning hands. Even if I sack a little value, my like perception of Gravy Bones as a deck in the metagame is basically I win almost every single game that my deck functions. If so long as I don't hit failure states, I am playing the best deck in the game. So even if I sack a little bit of value, it's fine because everything else I'm doing is so significantly above rate that I just need to make sure that I don't hit failure states. Let's see. I'm still playing Lone Shark and Riches. I've tried cutting these out of the deck and doing some other things over the past couple weeks. It was all terrible and all made me crash out. I hate Loan Shark. This is the worst card in the deck, but I think you just need to play it. I've been reevaluating the math of this card, and I think it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. If you adjust where you associate the value of putting an ally in the grave, if you associate the value of putting an ally in the grave as a full card, then realistically Loan Shark is pretty good because it can put 3 allies in the grave. So I hate it, but it is what it is. I am debating on actually putting a third loan back in the deck to eliminate failure states, like maybe instead of the Restless Bones or something like that. I'm not sure. I gotta think more about that. Let's see. Next, Anka. I've seen everyone and their mother cutting this card from the deck, and then moving towards leaner ally counts. I think Anka is really good right now. If you look at the metagame and like the decks that people are playing, Anka's pretty good into a lot of them. And the decks that it's not pretty good against, it's still just a guy. It's still just 8 value on a stick, which is pretty reasonable. So against Syndra, it's got text. Now, before, I did not really like using the effect of Anka versus Syndra. I thought it was not... I don't want to trade cards with them, was my perception, because I valued my cards more than them. But now you have such a hard time getting allies in the graveyard that I think it's acceptable trading cards with your opponent with Anka. Dio, pretty good there. Gravy Bones, it's reasonable. Ira, I actually don't want to trade cards with them. They can draw their stupid ass 0 for 1 blue. I don't care. I sleep. Kano, pretty reasonable. Kasai, pretty good. KO, cinema. Absolute cinema against KO. What else? Marlin, but who cares? Acilio, incredible against Acilio. Also cinema. Randomly has text against Pleiades sometimes. Pretty good against Prism. And actually, honestly, against some of these defensive decks, it can still have play. You can fuck them over on their Crown of Providence or their Sink Below sometimes, and then they're just like not expecting that to happen, and you just goose them completely. As far as a replacement to Riches goes, you don't need this in the deck. This could just be a third Loan Shark. Who cares? Sunken Treasure, an Amulet, Fearless. Just put like any good blue in the deck or something that makes gold. Whatever. You don't need this card. I've just found it to be pretty good. I don't think that I would spend the price tag on this card to own this card for a Pro Quest, though. For Worlds, maybe. I'm going to keep it a buck. If it's still ridiculously expensive, I'm probably going to sell mine after Worlds. That's way too much money for a piece of cardboard. I don't care. This doesn't move the needle that much on the deck, and I go back and forth on if I even want it in the deck. Money aside. You don't need this card at all. Just play another good engine piece. Also can have text against Puffin. Like, there's so many decks that Anka has pretty good text against. Didn't you tell me blue Reckless was the worst card in the deck? You mean Restless? Bro, all these cards suck. Like, half of your deck sucks ass in Gravy. It just doesn't matter because all your allies are so bananas. Like, Loan Shark and blue Restless are just such terrible cards. I want to kill myself every time I play these cards, but, like, you just got to do it sometimes to, like, make sure you can play the game. Anywho, on to the next one. So yeah, Anka, really good. And then it's still just, like, 8 value on a stick when it's not good. That's still just, like, pretty reasonable, and that fits a lot of your cost curve. Sloop. I added Sloop in the deck. As you can see, I cut most of my anti-fatigue tools. This was actually me limit testing how low can I go on fatigue tools. I wanted to see, do I actually need these things? And as we'll get into when we go over what I played against at the event, didn't really need it. I played against mostly fatigue decks, and the only one that beat me, I don't even think having more fatigue tools would have changed it. It was me hitting 3 failure states basically in a row that cost me the game, so having more things wouldn't have changed that. So Sloop is really good because I find a lot of the times against the slow decks, what ends up happening is you have some like bad mid game turns that give them space to get back in the game and like clear your board or something else, where that's like the reason that you actually lose the game. So instead of like playing something like Whaler, I found Sloop to be better. Hi Mara, how you doing, lovely? I'm excited to see you in a few weeks. Someone clicked on Red Attack would go again and summon me. I'm banned because I won a pro quest. I'm not allowed to play the game anymore. Unlucky. Yeah, Sloop is great. Sloop's my guy. I am debating though on making the Sloops blue. I think Sloop Blue is pretty comparable to Sloop Red because the fact that you can have this as a pitch card to go with your prismatics that you put back into the deck with Scoob. So it's still reasonable. It's like, where do you want your red count and blue count to be at, and like how does your sideboarding work out with blues and everything? Can you afford extra reds? It's just what knobs are you turning in your sideboarding for different things? That makes sense. I would be surprised if you played something other than Vincent or Dio, and Dio seems pretty reasonable right now. Anywho, on to the next one. We added Sink Below. You guys probably saw that. God, who was it? Was it Chu or Wu? I forget who it was that topped the calling recently with Sink Below in their deck. I was actually already on Sink Below in my deck the week before that. In my journey of blowing up Gravy Bones after the AGE deck profile that I did, I went back to look at all the Gravy Bones decks that had topped every single event prior to that. If you want all that data, I have it on the Patreon as well. I have a spreadsheet going over every single Gravy Bones deck list that has ever topped an event. And I was looking at like what people were doing before they were doing all the crazy ass tipple shenanigans of like going sicko mode with tipples. And I saw people were playing D-Reacts a bit more back then. And also, I think it was Woo. Maybe I'm wrong. The guy that won the Pro Tour, I'm pretty sure he was also on Sink Below. So I was like, okay, maybe there's some merit to this. What if we swapped the tipples that we lost for Sink Belows to add back in the card velocity? And since we're a bit slower now into the aggro decks, maybe we can actually try fighting over mask triggers. And it's been pretty good. And so the style of the deck kind of changed, where you're playing a bit more mid-rangey into the aggro decks than you were before. Deck seems pretty in line with Fab Blazing in terms of what's good in the expected meta. Did you lean into Zadata at all? I certainly did. That was one of the reasons that I ended up playing Anka. I was in a Discord call with Cody for like 3 hours going over Gravy Bones data, and we found that Anka was one of the cards that moved the needle the most against Acilio. So we were like, wait, hold on. Let's look more into this Anka guy, and then saw that it was really good in a bunch of matchups, and that's why it made it into my list at the time. I'm not going to plug them anymore, though, because they should sponsor me if they want me to plug them more. Great site. Not paid to plug them, though. Keck W. The Runaways is sponsored, not me. Let's see, what else? So, yeah, I cut Fearless. I think I already talked about that. That was also partly me just min-maxing my local meta of I played Fearless for a few weeks. I gave a number of people PTSD for that card, and then just cut it from the deck because I knew a bunch of them would just play around the card. It did work against a number of these people. They were like, oh, but if you have the Fearless. So it did its job without existing in my deck. I'm probably going to put it back in the deck for Worlds, but that's just me, playing mind games with people and just getting some free real estate. And then Blue Restless, I kind of went over that already. And then because I went back to Blue Restless, I went back to 2 Swabbies. Before I was on Cuddy to go with the Restless Bones because that fits that cost curve of going play a 2 cost, my Dead Threads is live, activate Dead Threads, play the Cuddy, swing for 3. I don't really like Cuddy very much into a number of the decks right now. So I cut that for the Ankas and then the Swabbies, because the Swabby plays into the same play pattern, but you're pitching 2 blues instead. But then since I'm playing a Blue Restless, it's still kind of the same thing. Before with a Red Restless, I still have to play a blue. So it's requiring the same number of blues. It's just I'm just moving the blue from the combat chain to the pitch zone instead in that scenario. with two back alley, why not play red swells? I think red swell could have a place in the deck, but it didn't solve my problem of failure states of poop soup hands. It does pretty good with the swabbies, so that could have a home back in the deck, but it didn't fix any of my consistency issues, and it just forced me to play more reds in the deck. I think if I changed the swells to be blue, I'd be pretty down to do that. If I wasn't playing the sinks, I'd be pretty down to do that. I just don't know where to make space for something like that. And it's just a value card. It doesn't actually improve the consistency of the deck. And if I'm already winning every single game on a value axis, I don't need to win more on that axis. I just need to make sure that I'm actually hitting the point of winning the game that way. So that's why I'm not playing it, but it might make it back in the deck. It's still a very good card. I just couldn't find space for it in the way that I was trying to play the deck. It's pretty hard fitting Sloop, Sink, and Red Swell in the deck. It's so much. And then you're making it worse because you have more reds in the deck, so you're less likely to hit a blue. So the math gets kind of fucky with it, right? Like, it's still good. If you want to play it, go for it. Yeah, it's also a ley line thing too. I want to make sure that my ley lines are good, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying before with the blue sloops. Maybe I want to make those blues so my ley lines are better later on in the game. Because if I'm pitching a bunch of these boners, they're so ass to play on second cycle. You basically have to pitch an ally to go with them, otherwise they don't do anything. So you're like really priced into playing them first cycle, and then that means that you can't cast your rabbles or your swells on first cycle all the time. So it runs into weird shit sometimes. And sometimes you're I have definitely cracked a Gold Kiss rum a few times to play one of these boners, so that way my second cycle prismatic actually has text. Down horrendous for sure, but whatever. That's just discarding an ally from your hand with extra steps, right? Because you're discarding the tip the barkeep on a previous turn. Cuddy's sticking doesn't even matter if he hits for 3 meta. Yeah, that's the other thing too. If we look at the decks in the metagame, the Cuddy sticking thing was pretty important before because the 4-butt was really relevant into a bunch of stuff. And I don't think the 4-butt matters as much right now. Decks like KO, it doesn't matter if it's 4 or if it's 1. They don't care. They're just going to ignore it because it doesn't put on enough pressure. Anka, they can't ignore. I want them to hit the Anka. I want them to fuck off and start hitting my guys. So that's another reason why it's so good. I don't want them to ignore my things. And if they're going to ignore my things, I want them to be high impact. So getting 5 value for 1 resource, that's a punishment for ignoring him. Breaking their turn when they blood rush or something, that's a big punishment. I want them to hold an L if they ignore my board. So you're just booming Verdance with the red sloops and ley lines? Pretty much. I mean, you're booming a lot of... The sloops is how you boom a lot of the slow decks. And then the ley lines just come in versus basically everything. It's just one of the best cards in your deck, so you just play it everywhere. And even when you're not trying to play it, it is just a yellow block 3, which like sounds stupid, but you're down horrendous sometimes. Like making gold in the deck is pretty hard now, so just like being able to do that is pretty relevant. Or just play the ley line and then later on your Sunken does something, right? It comes up. And it's just like a self-contained like free anti-fatigue package. Now, changes that I might make after this. I already talked about it. Might add in the 3rd Loan Shark. The Eye could come back in. The Swells could come back in. Fearless might come back in. I kind of want to find some space for like another Fatigue tool or two. Maybe an Amulet, because if I'm going to go with a higher boner count, the Amulets are pretty good because then it's a blue that I can pitch that then the boners see later. And then it's just good against the slow decks. The problem is that I don't really like a lot of these Fatigue tools versus Verdance. I don't want to bring in these hedge anti-fatigue tools versus Verdance and then they just go face and I look like a bozo. I'm kind of talking about it now. I talked about it earlier with the Whalers. This was me limit testing how low can I go on anti-fatigue tools. This was for testing purposes to see if I can get away with it. That was just like one of the things that I was working on this week to see if it worked. And it did. It was pretty good. I didn't feel like I needed it against anything except for one game. So the sloops did the job better than the whalers did, because I find a lot of games that I have whaler in the deck, one of two things happens. I either just never fucking cast the whaler and I look like an idiot with it in my graveyard, or the whaler is in my deck over a different ally because of how I've constructed my deck. And I'm in a situation where that is the ally that I'm discarding to my discard effect on the turn, like a tipple or something. But I can't actually play the whaler this turn, and I don't have any other allies. So it's just fucking ruining my turn, and the fact that it's a whaler. Any thoughts on Last Ditch Effort? I think Last Ditch is much worse now that you don't have all of the gold. I think it was pretty good before, where you could just like make a stupid stack of gold every game. But it's pretty hard to use now. Remembrance is also pretty reasonable. Just shuffle back your boats or something like that and just have a really easy anti-fatigue plan. And against Verdance, it's just a yellow pitch to AB or whatever. So it's like, whatever. It could be that. I haven't like made a decision yet on that, on what I want it to be. We're going to do more limit testing and see how low can we go, because it's tough. I like my anti-fatigue plans to be pretty brain dead after Charlotte, where I mentally fatigued from playing like 12 fatigue rounds. But at the same time, in Gravy, it's such a big deck building cost actually putting those cards in your deck and then never using them, because you see every single card in your deck more than once usually. So it's finding the right balance of what you want in the deck. So we're going to go to the drawing board and figure it out in the future. If you're at home right now watching this and you say, hey, Pheno, I want another fatigue card in my deck because I'm going to ProQuest this weekend, because unlike you, I'm not banned. Idiot. What an idiot getting banned. I would just put the whaler in. Just put the whaler in the bag. Hey, TCG Bella. You could probably just cut the Restless for it. You could cut the Riches for it. You could cut an Anka or a Swabby for it. Whatever you feel like. I think the easiest is probably cutting the Swabby. That way you keep your ally count about the same. Yeah, Whaler is one head. Whaler and Remembrance are both one head anti-fatigue cards, and I like them for that. Bro, Fatigue Jarl? What a meme. That deck sucks ass. What a meme. Yep. The other thing that you can do is go Rabble into Whaler. If you have the amulets, you can crack an amulet to be your blue for the Whaler. One of the plays that I really like with Whaler too, if you can do it, is crack like a Gold Kiss Rum and then play a Sawbones next to it. That's really, really powerful. But yeah, I don't know what I want to add in. No, you're not bad. It's just Jarl sucks. Like, you're just like rolling dice when you're playing Jarl. You're like, oh, do I blow up their compass on the first couple turns? No, I guess I lose. Like, that's just not a real strategy. Like, you're just there to fuck up people's records and then drop from the event when you play a deck like that. Like, what are you doing playing a deck like that at a serious tournament? Don't know how to beat Dory. If the Dory is playing like a pretty normal game plan of like hit your ally, hit your face, what I would recommend doing is my old Dromai strategy into Dory, where you start off the game playing for some chip damage, where you just play a normal game, you get some chip damage, push their life total down a little bit, reset the Dawnblade, ignore the Dawnblade for the rest of the game, and just go face. You're just playing for like one reset, and then if you've made enough chip damage, they can't race you after that. Depends on like the texture of the game, but that used to work pretty good in Dromai. I haven't actually played the matchup again as Gravy yet, but I've heard from other people that strategy works. Conceptually, I can't find a reason why that wouldn't work for Gravy. You play lots of D-reacts, you've got armor, should work fine. You've got a fucking 6-block D-react sometimes, like, should be reasonable. Well, you got to pick your spot to reset. You're trying to reset in such a way where you don't have to play around 20 million reactions and you just get punked no matter what. Like, I've got D-react plus blocking cards. So I'm just going to cover this. Show me your moves. You prove to me you can get over this block value. Because then they have to commit all the reacts on getting over. You commit your reacts to covering, and then the twinning doesn't matter because they already blew their load on the first swing, and then you just block the second swing and move on with life. That's true. You can use base. Might be better to use quick dodge flexors. I haven't thought about that yet because, like, just getting the free 2 defense, it depends on, like, how you're blocking. I don't know. I could see the base being better though in that matchup. I haven't considered it. Like, this being a reaction is pretty nice for the matchup, but I haven't really put much thought into it. I'm being put on the spot here. Caught. I don't know how to play the matchup. Okay, moving on. The other thing that I want to do with the list moving forward is I would like to attempt to consolidate my blues a bit. I feel like I have a few too many blues in the deck because I end up sideboarding out a lot of blues in the different matchups. So I think that probably means that a few of these blues shouldn't be 3-ofs and should get trimmed down a little bit. I gotta figure that out. Gotta figure it out if I even want to do that. Not sure yet. I gotta look into it, but that's like on my radar of things that I want to work on. I feel like I have just like a few too many in the deck. Give Josh the wet kiss special. Give him PTSD from Charlotte. Another thing that is on my radar of things is Shelter. I did try Shelter in the deck for a little bit to help improve the Syndra matchup. I found that the consistency that Sync gave was pretty relevant. So I went back to Sync, but I'm probably going to experiment with Shelter a little bit more and see if I like that. And I think that covers just about everything of things that I'm looking at in the deck. I'm still got my eye on if I even want Crown of Providence in the deck. It might be straight up cut this card and just play balance against everything. It could be put Royal back in for some of the slow matchups. I got my eye on you, Crown, because no one's playing Assassin anymore. BAB. AB2, got it. I like AB2 versus Verdance quite a bit. I feel like against Verdance, when they're going face, you want to have some AB, so that way you can like fight over the damage and extend your kill range when you start getting low. They don't just kill you when you're at 9, right? Like, I think Tricorn's fine if you're on a budget. I don't think that card is bad. I just think Royal is just better, and I think that base is better than Tricorn also. But if you're on a budget, I think it's perfectly reasonable. You're not losing out by that much, but like I own the card, so there's no reason to use the inferior card. Anywho, what I was trying to say. What was I trying to say? AB. I like the AB versus Verdance for when they're going face. I think it's pretty noticeable when you're on less AB in the matchup, and I think AB3 could be reasonable in the matchup. I think if them being able to theoretically fatigue you wasn't a strategy, I would just go AB3 in the matchup. But the fact that they can fatigue you, you need to respect that and have some proactive equipment in the matchup. So that's why I'm not more, but I think less, you're risking it a little bit, especially early on in the game if you draw some like kind of poopy hands. The sideboard guide is already available on Patreon. So if you want the sideboard guide, go to the Patreon. It's $5. And you get access to all of my content. It's not just $5 for that. The link is literally directly above your question, and it is also in the description below. Anywho, I could see Tricorn for Syndra. I think balance is better versus Syndra, though. I've talked about this before, but you generally get to stop a mass trigger with balance and also get to draw a card off of the balance because them going like Ancestral Harmony or Ancestral Empowerment or something like that. If you have a game against Syndra where you don't get to trigger balance, then that means that your opponent just didn't play some of the best cards in their deck that cheese you. I call that an absolute victory. Someone else asked a question. Would you adjust blood count for shelter? I don't think so. I mentioned this earlier. You're so down horrendous with getting allies in grave in the aggro matchups that I think you just like Blood in the Water functionally is an engine piece in those matchups because you just need to find a way to play the game. So I think it's pretty hard to do that. So I think I would cut sinks before I cut bloods. Like, man, anytime you find an ally off the top of your deck with a blood or a jittery or something like that, you just like get so much extra value. Let's you be proactive into Syndra, dropping an ally every turn against them is important for keeping pace. I could definitely see that, but same argument, you could just play Base of the Mountain for the exact same interaction, right? Sure, that's like slightly worse, but you're also drawing a card off the balance. Maybe it's worth considering. I will put that in the back of my head and maybe try that out in the matchup at some point. I mean, so long as we're talking about funny cards in Arsenal, let's get into talking about what I played against in the weekend and my funny finals. So round one, I played against basically I played against all people that I'm friends with, except for one person who's new to the area. Round one, I played against Chris on Verdance, and if you saw the AGE on my player card thing, he was the player I didn't want to play against because of his incredibly high luck stat. Game was going pretty reasonable. I was making pace. I was like on pace to beat him in a fatigue race. He went Talishar versus me. And then I drew 3 all ally hands. And it just fell apart. It just went off the rails. And he's playing a list that was pretty low life gain comparatively to like what you could be doing on Verdance. And of course, I can't just get unlucky. I have to get punished for getting unlucky. So he drew most of his life gain during that window. So I got punished on top of getting punished. And the game kind of slipped away. I could not beat him gaining that much life while doing nothing. So unfortunate. We came up a little short in that game. I think we were pretty close to winning. I also made a pretty egregious error at one point. This is the main reason why it's such a big deal to me getting to play more pro quests. Because there's a big difference playing Talishar versus playing in paper. The mechanical paper reps with Gravy Bones is so important. I mistakenly put a Swabby in my normal graveyard instead of my segregated ally graveyard. I played like a Jittery Bones or something and milled it off the top and just put it with the rest of my graveyard cards. And I played like the last 4 turns of the game, waiting for the last ally in my deck to come around. And I was like, where the fuck is it? And then I picked up my graveyard after the game was over and saw that it was there. And I was like, God damn it. So that was a pretty egregious mistake. But I did the turn that I was playing towards with the Swabby was going to be a double ally, double swing, double prismatic turn. But the amount of damage I was actually presenting on the turn was, I believe, 24. And if he blocked with his whole hand for 12, assuming no 4 blocks, he would have gone to 8. That's not enough. I needed him to not gain all that life earlier, and then that would have been lethal. With him going to that kind of life total, he can just block his whole hand, go next, and then all I can do is swing Swabby. He just blocks 2 cards, kills one of them, blocks 1 card, kills the other one, and then I can't win the game anymore. So I don't think that mistake cost me the game. It was just this is a great example why not getting to play more ProQuest is kind of a big deal to me. I really do value the paper reps. I'm very grateful, though, that one of the stores in my area is hosting a 1K on one of the days that there's not a ProQuest, so that way I can go get some more paper reps just on a separate tournament. But I'm a little blessed for that, but it's still tough. Anywho, enough complaining about that. Then I played against my good old buddy, good old pal, Ricardo on Florian. Unfortunate for him, that's a free W. That matchup is fucking horrendous for Florian. I talked about it after with him. He made a couple mistakes where I would hook a tipple or something, and it kind of baited him into blocking, and then I would punish him for that by playing a conch or a loot the hold afterwards, and it made it so he would like have to give me his whole hand to stop the on hit, and then he couldn't clear my ally afterwards. And the game kind of spiraled off of that, but I don't think that ultimately would have changed the outcome of the game. It just would have been the difference of the game going a few more turns. The matchup is pretty horrendous for Florian. Then we played the new guy to the area. I'm spacing on his name right now. I am fucking terrible with names. I'm sure it's going to take me like 6 more times meeting this guy to remember his name. But he was on Pallades. Never battered or pulped me with confidence, so we were good. He kind of raced me. Guardian doesn't win races with gravy bones, so Charles is his name. Sorry, I don't remember your name, Charles, but I'm terrible with names. It is unfortunate. Like, this is to tell you how bad I am with names. At the world premiere for Rosetta, Michael Fung went to interview me for like something to do with my stream game, and he asked me like what hero I was playing. And this was like day 2 of playing this set. I was like, I don't know, the Earth Wizard person. I don't know the names of any of these heroes or any of these cards. And he was like, why are you like this? I was like, I don't know, man. It's gonna take me a month to remember any of these card names. I know what they do. I don't know what they're named. Then afterwards, we played against Evan on Victor. He played a fatigue game into me, and then he had a turn where just the monkey brain said, nope, me do happy brain chemical thing, and he threw a big batter to a pulp at me. I was not expecting that because he had not thrown a single goddamn attack at me all game other than turns that I literally had no allies in play. And I had like reasonable things on board to kill, and he just went, nope, I changed my mind, faces the place. But me just having 2/3 blocks stopped this from connecting. I was like, what? I mean, but I looked at my hand, and my hand was literally 3 no blocks. I was like, ah, quick, gravy bones. Oh, thank God, another 3 block, and then I blocked it out. And I was like, I don't understand what the plan was here. This just lost to me putting cards in front of cards. This wasn't dominated. There was no pummel. I don't know, but we take those. We certainly take those. And then the game went off the rails from there. The game was actually a little dicey up until that point because I had all of my conchs were pretty bad. On like the second or third turn of the game, I had a hand that didn't do anything other than go conch, and he just blocked, and I made no damage progress with 2 conchs. It burned his armor, but I'd already played a conch, so I was out of all 3 conchs, and all it did was buy his armor, and I have nothing else in my deck that gives a shit about burning his armor anymore. So I was like, I was sweating at that point, being like, I don't know if I can still win this game. But we might have still gotten there regardless of that, but that definitely just like made me win the game instantly. After that, we played against my good old buddy, Big Mungus himself, Josh. We were both locked if we win the game, as we were both X1. So we decided to ID the game and just not play, guarantee both of us are in, so there was no funny business if one of us gets knocked out. And then we just played the game for fun afterwards, just like, hey, you want to just play anyways? Because like we have an hour to kill. And I had a fun game with Josh. I ended up winning. He fell pretty far behind pretty quickly. He drew like a bunch of quad red hands on his first couple turns, and it just like spiraled out of control off of that. The matchup's already really difficult for KO, but like basically doing nothing on your first 2 turns is a death sentence, and it was pretty over pretty quick. But then we talked strategy about the game, and I pointed out some like different decisions he could have made during the game and tried helping him out of like learning. And I like talking about the game with my friends and like going over different things. And he was like asking for my opinions on things. So he at least got value out of that. He seemed pretty happy, like having a learning experience. And then we moved into the top cut. And from there on, I played Verdance. My entire bracket was just Verdances from then on out. First round, I played against Derek. Pretty smooth game from there. Then I played against Will. I remember at one point versus Will, basically all my games played out the same way. I got some guys in play, they went face, and then as I told Will exactly, I'm sure you're not familiar with the secret technique from people of blocking your physical attacks. And he kind of gave me this look of like, I don't I don't know how to actually win the game with this deck when people don't just ignorantly take 8 from my physical attacks. Because people do that all the time versus Verdance. They're like, oh my god, 8? Oh, no blocks. I gotta race you because your hero power is going to turn on if I don't race you from here. Word to the wise, when the Verdance throws 8 at you, just block. Whatever they're doing is better than whatever you're doing. Just block. Don't let them get a chance to use their cards on defense. Call them a bozo when they can't convert their 5-card hand next turn. And then play the game from there. And now you don't get into Strider's range. This is a great strategy into Verdance. Not always correct. Sometimes you need to not block and like maybe you're ahead enough that you don't need to block. Maybe you're so far behind that the only way you win this game is by not blocking and taking some risks. But I think most games against Verdance that you're like kind of at parity and they're going down with you, you can just block and say go next. And of course, Mara, when she hears the word block, has to start yapping in the chat. What the fuck are you saying? Block Mondio. I'd never. Nah, I'd win. So yeah, I showed Will the secret technique of putting cards in front of cards, and my life total did not dip very low, and I had a bunch of men in play. And then we just started attacking with all of our guys. And like, how do you win when you're like 15 points behind and I have 3 guys in play that all attack for 6? Same thing happened in the finals. Secret technique, put card in front of card. And the other secret technique of we drew a reasonable hand in all of these games. Pattern here, the only games that you really lose on gravy is when you draw pretty unreasonably bad hands. Unfortunately, we got to the very end of the game. Oh, also to say, we did also split the finals. We originally wanted to do just like a prize split of like gold foil for a second or something like that, but I was like, you know, I would like to actually play the game and for like the thing, and I would like to be okay with either outcome. And honestly, I shouldn't split in this situation. Like, I'm playing the deck that is severely advantaged in the matchup. I should not split. But I played against my friend George. He's my friend. So I want to make sure that no matter what, both of us came out feeling like we were winners. I wanted to make sure, like, would I be happy with this split if I lost? And if that's the case, then I would like to offer that kind of split so that way he's also in a position where he feels like he's still got the W in this situation. Like, I wanted the split to be such that I have to think about, do I just say no blocks and take the prizing type of situation? So we did it like just 100-0 split of all of the prizing went to second, including our promos. And then we played out the game. And it was just a normal gravy game until we got to the very end of the game where I was tanking really hard on one of my hands and I accidentally picked up my arsenal. Okay, whatever. The rule when that happens is you show your opponent your hand, they pick one of your cards, and it goes into your arsenal. Unfortunately, one of the cards in my hand was the 1/1 Fable in my deck. I was like, oh my god, I have just completely thrown this game. Oh my god. And I could see Derek was spectating my game and he just like starts, oh my god, when I do that. So we now have a Fable in our arsenal. It's pretty bad, but thankfully, as we said before, we're pretty far ahead. It's in the same board state as I mentioned before, where we're ahead a significant life total with like 3 guys in play. And my hand was like double ally go again some other attack. It was just like, fuck you, here's 30 damage kind of hand. Even me just bricking my arsenal, it was do that much damage. So I guess I now get to say I've won a pro quest with a Fable in my arsenal. that is a bucket list item that I've always wanted to have checked off of winning a game with a Fable in my arsenal. Yeah, we were joking about that in the game. I was like, I guess I know that you're never going to play a plow for the rest of the game, and then we both started dying laughing from that. Um, Now, funny enough, there was actually a game at RTN Season 1 that I watched my teammate James play, where he was playing Prism and he had Heart of Fiendel in his deck at the time. Interestingly enough, this ProQuest was he then won I'm sorry, RTN. He won with a very similar deck list, I think the week after. And that deck list was like a couple cards off from the one that Tyler Horsepool took to win the calling. Just saying. Just saying we had the idea first for a lot of that technology. Just saying. But anyways, I digress. He was playing against my buddy Tim Grant, and there was a situation in that game where I told him afterwards, it was correct for you to actually Arsenal Heart of Fiendel because you knew he was going to pummel CNC you on the next turn, because that's all Tim was doing that game, pummel CNCing. Didn't know that you won the PQ Sunday. Congrats. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. So, all that to say, I now have a bucket list item checked off of arsenaling a Fable and winning that game. In a real game, not just me memeing on someone in like an armory game or something. So that was pretty cool. I thought that was a funny story. And then we all got food afterwards and hung out and had a great time at Chinese food. So yeah, that's my Gravy Bones deck list. That's my story time of the event that I played at. And y'all are going to have to deal with me for the next couple weekends because I'm banned from playing the game for the next couple weeks. So we're going to have some streams coming up with some real salty ass titles saying I'm not allowed to play the game anymore, and just really rub that in that I'm salty about that. I mean, if you think that you can play Gravy, go for it. I think Gravy is the best deck in the game, but it is definitely the hardest deck to play in the game. Do I think they're going to keep the PQ ban thing? I think they are going to in the short term, because the attitude that all of them had about it was so, I'm right, you're wrong. I don't want to like, your opinion is invalid type of attitude from the people that like made this decision. Like, we know better than you. Everyone is all the people that this rule actually affects are pretty upset about it. Nobody likes this change except for people that it doesn't impact. The only people I heard saying good things about this change, this doesn't fucking matter for those people. I'm sorry. I know that's mean, but all the people that were like, yeah, you weren't winning a ProQuest anyways. It is what it is. I know that's not like PC or whatever, but like, let's keep it a buck. Didn't impact those people one iota. You know who this did impact? All the people trying to practice for Worlds. You know who else this impacted? All the stores in really small rural areas, especially in like Europe and shit, that have very small communities that after someone wins a ProQuest, some of their following ProQuests might not literally have enough players to fire, and then that store loses privileges to run ProQuests in the future. Because that's how that shit works. If you don't meet the player count for your event, you lose the privilege to keep running them in the future. Well, what are we doing? Like, the hubris to think that your game is as big as Magic to do something like that is ridiculous. This is not Magic. And circling back to something that I talked about earlier when we were yapping about hold that thought. I'm literally sweating right now. I don't know why it's so hot in here. I'm just going to crack my window real quick. I was just thinking about turning on my AC, but it's like the middle of like October. Well, Magic used to do that, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of Magic. But I was making a point earlier when we were talking about Silver Age that one of the benefits of making these other formats successful is having other ways to engage with the hobby. that is a very important part of the ecosystem of the game. Making sure no matter what, I can play the game. If standard sucks, I can go play modern. If modern sucks, I can go play commander with my friends. If my friends are out of town, maybe I go draft on arena. You can always find a way to interact with Magic. If this system existed, if I can't play in PPTQs anymore, I'll go find a fucking random 1K because there's always 1Ks and shit going on for Magic all over the place. There's not always ways to interact with the hobby in Magic. That is not the case in Fab. So this ProQuest change has that same kind of implication. When you say you don't get to play the game anymore, how else am I interacting with the game in paper? There's nothing. Go to armories, but like that's it. There's nothing else to do. There's not even a way to technically play online because if we ignore Talishar existing, they don't have an official way to play online. And further crash out on that. Hold on. We need the receipts. We need the receipts, chat. We're going to go even deeper. We're going even further beyond. We're pulling up Twitter. You can't fire a PQ with 7 people. You need a minimum of 8. What the fuck am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm going to notifications and then finding Shane. Because he retweeted it, and that's going to be the fastest way for me to find it. Too many things on my notifications. Nope, not you. Shane, where are you? Not Lucas. Shane Martin. Click on tweet. Bring tweet back up. Hey guys, remember that thing that we just got from LSS of the 6-year anniversary, whatever the fuck, Silver Age thing? So this is what I was talking about earlier of the we know better than you kind of attitude. In this thing, they said directly on my Twitter, we're going to have a thing talking about organized play in October. Was that it? Was that Silver Age thing this? Because I don't think they mentioned anything about the ProQuest change anywhere in that 2-hour Silver Age video. So I'm still waiting. I'm waiting for a response to this. I'm not going to forget. I'm going to keep beating this drum. And I'm going to keep beating the drum about how shitty the High Seas release is. That's not gonna let you guys forget that. That was terrible. Don't do that shit again. You don't want me to complain? Don't do that shit. What are we doing? We desperately need a dev talk talking about their intent and philosophy behind these OP changes, because it is baffling to me that they just slipped that into a retailer OP thing and thought no one would say anything about it and did nothing to control the narrative other than sassy comments on Twitter. Yeah, what replaces Elo? That's another good example of something that we need to know about. And this is what I'm just talking about earlier with the spinning plates thing. Yeah, even if I disagree, you need to control your narrative. I can disagree. We can have discourse. We can disagree. But, this is ridiculous. So, in my view, they're going to keep the change, probably, until they realize that this system doesn't work for, another season. And then they're going to either revert back to what it was before or just come up with a new system. Because the cracks are already showing. You got people like Noah running around just scooping the finals of every event because the value of continuing to play during the season is better than getting a fucking stupid ass gold foil that nobody wants. Oh my god, I had another thought about this. What was it? Chat, what was it? Look into my mind's eye. What was it? My god, I'm stupid. Oh, I remembered. Somewhere in this Trevor conversation, there was even more of just like, what the fuck are we doing? So, to my understanding of how this works from them explaining it, which obviously would be lovely if we actually had a dev talk or something on like Judge Hub or the retailer site explaining how this actually works, other than just you have to parse it out through tweets. That's a separate problem. But from how it was explained, if you win, if you top, what was it, 32, the Pro Tour, and get your invite to the next Pro Tour from that, because they removed PTIs and replaced it with you have an invite to the next Pro Tour. They did that. So let's say theoretically you have your invite to the next Pro Tour from the Pro Tour, and you win a Pro Quest. Well, first of all, for some reason you're still allowed to play in Pro Quests even though you have an invite. So what's the point of the system if that person gets to keep playing, even though we're not allowing people to play once they get their invite? Separate thing. Again, what's the ethos of this? If that person wins their Pro Quest that already had their invite from the Pro Tour, the invite passes down to second place. But the guy that just got the that got first place, that already had his invite from the Pro Tour, he no longer can play because he won a Pro Quest. But the guy that got the invite passed down to him can keep playing next week. So I ask you, what is the point of this system if what is the ethos of the system? If the point is to make it so more people get invites, this does not accomplish that. The only thing I can think of is it's to stop people from farming gold foils and shit, or it's to eliminate shenanigans in Top Cut of people scooping teammates in because they already have their invite or whatever the fuck. This had the opposite effect. This has only led I have seen more shenanigans in Top Cut than before because of this, because people are just going, neither of us want the invite. I want to keep playing, you also want to keep playing, so we're trying to determine who's allowed to lose. I remember they said that people that qualify via Pro Tour are not allowed to play in pre-queues in the future, but that was short notice for this season. I mean, maybe they change it moving forward, but that's not the current case. Also, apparently, I don't know this, but to my understanding, it's basically honor system to not keep playing. I don't think it's programmed into Gem, so you just have to know that there's a player at your thing that's not allowed to play that, and tell them to kick rocks. But this also creates other problems of all of these Pro Quests are pretty booked out, so you have to book your placement in these in advance usually. So now you're running into situations of people having to get refunds for these Pro Quests, and I know a lot of stores don't give refunds. That's shitty in a different direction, but like, I mean, if you've seen me beating the like 18th drum that I've been beating of shitty things, there's stores that are pretty shitty. Like, man, I've been working on this on the side. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna just show you guys. I don't give a fuck anymore. Where is it? Boop, 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 boop. Nope, not that one. Okay, so one of the ignore this over here for now. Ignore it, or completely ignore this, okay? In fact, goodbye. It's gone. So one of the things that James does like every season is he makes like a directory type of thing of all of the events going on in our region, so that way people can kind of like plan out what events they want to go to, and then he usually even goes even a step further, and then once he sees the scheduling of the different events, he'll try making a point of contacting some of the stores to ask if hey, would you have any problem moving your event to a different date, so either you're not conflicting with another store directly in your area, like two New Hampshire stores in the area having it on the same day, maybe you should spread it out to a different day, or hey, what if you moved it to Sunday so people can physically go to more events. Not everyone wants to do that, but it doesn't hurt to ask, and it's generally better for everyone because the player base isn't getting split across two stores, so both stores end up getting more people to show up to their event, and more players get to play in more events. Everybody wins. So this is just something he's been doing since like we started playing the game. I've been mauling over prizing for the past like year or so in the area, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna take it a step further with this Google Sheet that we do of the events going on, and I'm gonna start adding a thing of prizing so people can make a judgment of which store they want to go to based on previous prizing at previous things. So this is starting this season, and I'm gonna keep updating this every season. So this is the prizing that was given out at all of the pro quests that have happened in my area, and then I ones that I personally didn't go to, I talked to people that went to those events to try to get the prizing from them. There might be some small discrepancies on this because like maybe I'm slightly off on something, but I'm trying. This is as accurate as I think I can be. For any packs or boxes, I just went with whatever the fucking MSRP of the boxes. So boxes right now are like 119 something, like 120 MSRP. Can't see the left side. One sec. That better? So I just put in whatever the MSRP per pack is. I think it's like $5 a pack, or is how the math breaks out. Um, yeah, yeah, actual zero, and then yeah. I usually don't go to this one for that reason. I'm used to this being the case, so I usually skip out on that. I've never been to this store before. To their credit, doesn't look like they're actually a fab store. It looks like they just kind of decided to randomly run it for some reason. I don't know. I've never been to this store. It's like a 3-hour drive. But the actual zero is ridiculous. And then what blew my mind more is like everyone there was going nuts buying pre-release kits. Just like, God, they must have made like $500 to $1,000 just off of people buying pre-release kits. So it's not like people came into the store and didn't spend money. Like people still spent money. So, man, this is so crazy. Now this one, to my knowledge, they usually give out prizing at this one. I believe they usually have pretty decent prizing. So this one, maybe someone different is running it or something. Not sure. Yeah, on Greenhouse, 4 different people asked if there would be prizing for the event, and the store owner kind of just like kicked his shoes around, was like, no. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna say shit, but like, I'm just not gonna come to the store again. Like, I'm not gonna do something, but like, whatever. And then, you know, I mean, we got the GOAT right here, the fucking GOAT, Webway Games. If y'all play Grand Archive, you might know this store. These are the guys that do the podcast for Grand Archive. God, what is it? It's a mechanic that doesn't exist in the game anymore. Elise, what's the name of the podcast? I'm dying right now. Thank you. They're always fantastic. They always give out the best prizing. These guys are my favorite store in the entire region. And I'm a little biased because like I've grown up with a lot of these people. Like, my God, their Wi-Fi password is the same Wi-Fi password as the LGS we all grew up in, the Wiz. Like, my God, the nostalgia glasses are crazy for me. But like, man, they're just the best. Palmer, Once Upon a Memory, fucking fantastic. And then we got these over here where it's like, okay, at least we got this one, at least there's prizing, and then the other two, this is like the expectation of prizing where it should be in that kind of like 70% range. Because realistically, think about it this way. I'm coming to the store, I'm paying money to enter the event, you spent nothing on this prize kit. This is basically just a transaction with extra steps. I'm giving you money, and then some people in the event are getting back that money as product that you did not even spend MSRP on. Like you got it at distro rate, so you're still making money off of all of these people. You need to take out some for running the event. You need to pay a judge. You need to take out a little bit for like having the lights on type of fee. But like, come on, actual zero when you just weren't going to be doing anything on that day anyways, and these people spent money in the store? Because that's the other thing. This is an excuse to get people to come into your store and to spend money on other things. It's fucking stupid, man. I am so jealous of Cody where he's got all these stores doing 1Ks in his area. Oh, so jealous. But like, when you do that, you get more people to come to your event when they know, like, oh, this store is going to be goated for prizing. I'm going to go out of my way to go to that store to get a piece of the pie. Like Grave Troll, they're probably going to have really good prizing. I'm a little sad that I can't play because, like, man, I'm sad I'm going to miss out on that prizing. Yeah, like Webway should definitely do it. Great stories. I would wish they would do it, but they're always so difficult to schedule events with because they have a similar problem of too many spinning plates. They just have way too many different card game events going on every single day. Good problem to have. Get that bag. I'm not no flack from me on that. I'm happy that they're having success, but I wish maybe they could just get some more tables or something so they could run more events. I don't know. Because that's always been the problem of like, when do we schedule stuff? It's like, oh, there's a Magic thing that day, there's a Grand Archive thing that day. It's like there's just like 6 events every weekend. It is what it is. But we should definitely try getting Webway to do that. That would be awesome. I would definitely go to every single one of those. I mean, I'm going to be going to the Grave Troll one this Sunday. Is it this Sunday or next Sunday? I forget. Whatever. Man, that was a lot of crashing out this stream. I wasn't. This was supposed to just be a deck profile. Boy, 6 hours. Sheesh. That takes me back to RTN season 1 when we were driving all over the place to go to the different events. But that also was like, the EV was so crazy at these events because the tunics were like 3K and the top 8 promos were like $200. Yeah, I plan on going to the 1K. I need the paper reps, clearly. And this is probably my last chance to like actually get meaningful paper reps in. That's a question that certainly has an answer somewhere, Dan. Couldn't tell you. The only reason I'm aware of it is because of other people asking me if I'm going to the 1K and me going, what 1K? Best way to get news. What are you talking about? Well, that's pretty much it for stream. Hang out for a few more minutes and then I'm going to bounce. Got some testing to do with Shane. He wanted to test something with me. He didn't actually tell me what he wanted to test. So who knows? I have no idea what I'm going to be doing after this. But do a few more minutes of any AMA if you guys want to shoot any more questions at me, chat about anything else, and then I'm going to bounce. That being said, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Appreciate all you guys for coming to hang out and everything. I hope you got value out of the deck profile. Do I want to carpool to this 1K? Yeah, exactly. Exactly what 1K though. um, anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys got value out of this. I hope you appreciate the content. If you did get value out of it, subscribe to the channel, like the video, consider doing the follow subscriber thing on the channel, or subscribing to the Patreon. My deck with sideboard plans is on the Patreon if you are looking for that. Will you still be playing Gravy even? Are you asking if I would still play him even though I have LL points for him? Is that what you're trying to ask? Looking forward to seeing you, Mara. Few weeks and then we can hug. I don't give a shit about being on the LL board at all. I cared about that when I first got into the game, and then like I don't care about that anymore. Not saying this in like an ego way or anything, but it's like I don't need my name to be on a thing. Like I'm already people know who the fuck I am, right? Like I don't need that like extra piece of clout. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah, if any of you guys are at Worlds, feel free to come up and say hi. Let me know if you're like a viewer or something. Let me know what your favorite moments from stream are. We'll have an awkward hi. Yeah, I'm just gonna play whatever I think is gonna give me the highest win percentage. I don't care about that. Ironically, I don't have any LL points for OG Prism, even though that's probably the hero I was like most known for. But that was purposeful. That was me abusing the LL system to keep her around for longer. I scooped every single top cut with Prism to keep her around for longer, and then that's the only reason that she was legal for Lil. And if I hadn't done that, I would not have a top 8 at the PT. What about Syndra? Any advice for the Syndra matchup? So we kind of talked about it like a little bit earlier without mentioning specifically Syndra, about like how we play like kind of grindier now in a lot of these matchups. But my recommendation is, one, look for spot. Look, how do I articulate this? You need to, at the beginning of the turn, identify whether or not this is a turn that you can actually win a fight over Mask. That's number one. Number two, pick your spots to play your bigger hands with like conk and things like that. Don't just like slam that shit every time you see them and just no blocks everything. I think a great time to do that is when you identify, I am never winning this fight over Mask, so it is pointless to fight over Mask, so I'll just play a big hand instead and play my conk. Number three, look to play small grindy hands. Like, how can I block and then play an ally and swing? For example, what if I block with 3 cards, play a port side exchange, draw a card off of the top of my deck, use that card as pitch to play the ally already in my graveyard? You ended up blocking with 3 cards for 9, and then put a Rigor Mortis in play, getting 7 value off of 1 card. Oh, block jock. That's for true. No hoots. Where's the Dromai deck profile at? Okay, I'll work on that. I need to actually work on an LL. That's like my thing I was going to work on over the next week, because I don't need to worry about CC for the next couple weeks. So I should probably start putting some time into LL. I'll put like something together preliminarily for Dromai. And then we can do deck tech on that. Maybe we can do that next stream. Maybe Saturday. See if people are around for that. I might stream Saturday. I might stream Thursday. Depends on how busy I am Thursday. I think Thursday I might try just finishing the Gravy Guide and then stream Saturday instead. Because, yeah, I don't got anything going on Saturdays anymore. Unlucky. All right. Any last minute questions? You got what? You guys got 1 minute. One last question. Oh fuck! I forgot to actually leave a question for the podcast. Damn it. Whatever. 3, 2, 1. Y'all are too slow. All right. Oh 07. Good night, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all of you. Probably see you guys this weekend. Have a great rest of your night.